You can take it from just about any person that has gone from being involved in a homosexual relationship to somebody now who has come out of that. And they will tell you that they could never get the kind of satisfaction they could in that same-sex relationship that they could outside of the same-sex relationship.
That is not correct. Because according to the Encyclopedia of...
Christian apologist Frank Turek recently posted a video where he's asked how Christians should interact with gay family members, and his answer was, I mean, the guy's source material was compiled almost 2,000 years ago. What do you expect? It was bad. A little understanding on the scholarly literature on the nature of sexual orientation and its relation to well-being would have gone a long way here, but what's done is done. I'll reference that literature a good bit in my response with several links to it in the description. So let's take a look at the problems with his answer one by one.
How are we supposed to interact with family members who have chosen the gay lifestyle?
Very, very hard question.
Right off the bat, given the phrasing of this question, Turek should have made a clarification to the audience that being gay does not seem to be a choice. Science does not support the idea that one can choose their sexual orientation. Maybe the question somehow didn't mean to say that. Maybe by lifestyle, she meant living life as a gay person without apologizing for your needs or existence. But still, the question carries that implication. And I think if Turek cares about what the scientific literature has to say on this topic, he should have made that clarification.
Let me say something that my first pastor always said, which I think is brilliant. He said to his kids, "There's nothing you can do that will make me stop loving you." I would never break off relations with any child. I would love them, but love, as I mentioned a minute ago, requires that you stand for truth, even if they don't like it.
I'm glad he's not encouraging anyone to cut off children who are gay, but don't mistake this comment of mine for praise. In my view, this is just meeting a standard for basic human decency, and I'm just relieved he's gotten this far. Hopefully he would extend this to any person, be it a child, family member, friend, or acquaintance. Now, as far as standing for truth goes, that could mean a few things, and my opinion on it depends on what he means by that. If he meant you could think that being gay is a sin but still love and treat people the same way as anyone else, that would be one thing. I'd obviously have serious issues with that, but I have even bigger problems with what he actually means.
So I think it's very important that you say, look, I am basing my viewpoint on something beyond me. I'm not going to disagree with Jesus on this.
I take massive issue with this. This idea of one party basing their ideas on something higher or beyond humanity gets seriously abused in conversations with Christians, at least in my experience. Turek might mean I base my ideas on what I've evaluated and considered to be a reliable source of knowledge, the Bible. That's not how I see many Christians apply this "my beliefs come from beyond me" idea, though. When this is said, it more often seems to mean that one's ideas are derived from an epistemology beyond the grasp of humans, that this knowledge and this way of knowing is not influenced by human fallibility. It's God's thinking, not mine, so it can't be wrong. Now, obviously, any idea that a human has or accepts is derived from cognitive processes and lines of reasoning that exist within the grasp of humanity. Basically, a human can't claim to rely upon something higher than human reason, because even doing that is nothing but an application of human reason. Christians who claim to base their viewpoints on something beyond them are still just basing their viewpoints on their own appraisal of biblical theology. Plenty of Christians don't look at it that way, though, and instead use this line as an incredibly arrogant excuse not to consider their interlocutor's viewpoint, be it an atheist, a Christian, or someone of another religion. That's a great way to start destroying your relationships. Regardless of Turek's exact intent here, I don't think he should be encouraging this phrasing.
I love you, and I want what's best for you. And you don't need to take it from me, but you can take it from just about any person that has gone from being involved in a homosexual relationship to somebody now who has come out of that. And they will tell you that they could never get the kind of satisfaction they could in that same-sex relationship that they could outside of the same-sex relationship.
Hey Turek, present your data, please. I want to see actual scientific evidence that gay people, those who are exclusively attracted to those of the same gender, can and do come out of that exclusive homosexuality and find heterosexual relationships more satisfying. Of course, that's not going to happen because that evidence doesn't exist. So instead, what's the evidence Turek presents for his claim? You can talk to some people and they'll tell you that. It's just anecdotal. This is a problem I have with Christian apologists like Turek and those who follow them. Certain Christians prop them up like legitimate intellectuals to be taken as seriously as any secular academic. Meanwhile, they prop up ideas like gay people can go straight, using nothing but anecdotes. The scientific literature on the subject overwhelmingly suggests the opposite, and that's been the consensus within the field of psychiatry in the US since the 1970s. People like Turek and his fans will claim all day long that their worldview doesn't conflict with science and that they value science and reason just as much as skeptics. Then, when it's inconvenient, they throw scientific consensus by the wayside and prop up their preconceived notions with anecdotes. If you want apologists to be treated like real, serious intellectuals, like real academics, encourage them to actually act like it. Finally, to address the "I want what's best for you" comment, I'll add that science can actually inform your efforts there. What's been shown to be best for the mental health and overall sense of well-being of LGBT people, as overwhelmingly suggested by the relevant literature, is social support, especially from family. If you want what's best for a gay family member, science suggests a course of action for you. Except, and here's the crucial part, support them. Sure, you could say that you want what's best for them spiritually most of all, but unfortunately, that type of health is not measurable or even observable. So it comes down to whether you want to take a proven route of promoting your loved one's well-being, or instead, an unprovable one.
Now, some people never can break that. There's a minister by the name of Sam Albury who's same-sex attracted, but he's celibate. And he says, "My Lord was celibate." And I'm not going to be less of a person because I don't have sex. My Lord didn't have sex.
Yeah, the data suggests that gay people can't break that. They can't work to become attracted to a different gender, or in other words, change their orientation. You know what else the data suggests? That having friends and family who support you as you live your life as an LGBT person is better for your mental health and happiness than doing otherwise. Also, LGBT people who can be and are open about their sexuality tend to have less frequent mental health concerns than those who feel they must remain closeted. The data is pretty clear. Going Turek's way isn't what tends to be good for LGBT people. It's really too bad that Turek is so focused on theology when it comes to others' well-being, when science has some pretty solid answers to these questions.
So that's a hard road in our culture, but it's the better road because we're here as Christians to become more like Jesus. Our role here isn't to blend in with the culture or even to have a romantic relationship. I mean, we pray that God would give us that opportunity, but if he doesn't, he doesn't.
You can say it's a better road if you're willing to say that the ways in which it's better are entirely intangible. By what we can see and measure, it's not a better road. I won't argue that it's not a better road in some spiritual way, because as far as I know, humans have no way of reliably testing or measuring the spiritual or supernatural. So no, I don't know if it's a better road spiritually, but neither does Turek, really. I'd also like to point out here that if God made some people gay and unable to change that, he made the world such that it's healthier to be supported as one acts on their sexuality than to suppress it, all the while God demands that gay people not act upon it at all. Apparently, God made a world where some people can sinlessly act upon their sexuality healthily, while others are damned to unhealthily refrain from that in order to refrain from sin. That's supposed to be the action of an all-loving, just God? That's absurd. It's more reasonable to consider the God of the Bible as a moral monster, or that no omnibenevolent, omnipotent God had a hand in inspiring the Bible. Maybe fallible, scientifically illiterate, morally problematic ancient men wrote it.
So it's a hard problem. It's not an easy problem. But I would go back to say, there's nothing you can do that will make me stop loving you. In fact, because I love you, I want what's best for you. I want God's best for you. And so I'm going to do everything I can to try and help you to either refrain from this kind of relationship or at least be celibate.
As a former Christian, I get the whole telling you you're wrong shows that I love you thing. After all, they believe that sin sends you to a literally torturous afterlife. But here's what I think is a better way to show love. Respect your loved one's reasonable boundaries in your relationship. Now, I haven't had the experience of coming out as LGBT, and there are obvious differences here, but something that informs my perspective on this is my experience as an atheist in a family of evangelical Christians. At one point, their way of showing love was arguing with me and subtly trying to convince me that God was real, like all the time. Not only did it not work, but it seriously strained our relationships. Now, we don't spend our time together trying to convince each other of anything. I don't try to argue with them, and they don't try to argue with me. We've set our boundaries and respect them. Our relationships are far, far healthier now because of that, and I don't think any of us question our love for each other. So if you take Turek's approach of don't disown or stop loving them, but do try to help them not engage in homosexual activity, I don't think that's going to work out for you. On top of that, remember, if you do that, you are going to be encouraging them to live in a way that does not promote their health and happiness. To me, it seems that there's a pretty clear-cut choice here. You can do what scientific evidence suggests is helpful, or you can do what Turek's interpretation of the Bible says. For any LGBT person watching this whose family has chosen something akin to Turek's way, I'm sorry, and I want to let you know that at the very least, there's a community of people surrounding this channel who do support you. And to any Christians watching who are doubting the justness of God's nature because of this subject, take it from someone who used to be where you are, you're onto something. Thanks for watching. I've been Drew of Genetically Modified Skeptic. I'm excited to announce that I'll be participating in an event in London on August 16th along with several other great YouTubers and secular activists. I'll actually be speaking on a panel about a topic very similar to this video, so if you liked this video, maybe you like that event. The tickets are cheap, but I'm told that they're close to selling out, so make sure and check out the event and get your tickets as soon as possible. I hope to see some of you guys there. As always, go ahead and subscribe, check out my Patreon, follow me on Twitter and Facebook at GM Skeptic, join my Discord, and until next time, stay skeptical.